Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's going to talk about The Ox by Blockhead. But before I do, can I rant a little bit? So I've been watching a lot of, I watch a lot of YouTube. It's my favorite thing to watch. And there's just been a pretty consistent theme, or sort of a recurring theme in videos about hip-hop, sort of talking about the death of mainstream hip-hop and the fact that there's no Drake or Kendrick or J. Cole who's popping up. And I get the point, but maybe so what? But because I've spent the last 5 years listening to so much rap music, maybe what we need to appreciate is that the mainstream of hip-hop might be getting slightly weaker, but the alternatives are so strong and providing so much great rap and moving the art forward that perhaps we might just have sort of an interesting, almost like rock music in the 80s, where you had pretty bland rock and pretty regrettable music that was being made at the same time as the alternative sphere and the indie sphere was just getting going. I don't know what. All I can say is let's just not worry about there not being a new Drake or a new Kendrick. There will be. They will show up. And when they do, we'll all say, oh my God, there's a new Kendrick. But when you have an album like The Ox by Blockhead, it is a wonderful reminder of just how stocked the pond is with great rappers, okay? There are just so many great MCs that just this one sort of compilation of a lot of mostly East Coast, mostly affiliated with the Backwoods Studio label, some of these people who I've never even heard of can come together and make an album that is like a murderer's row. It's crazy. I mean, just over the last month, I've reviewed Arm & Hammer. They're on this album. Danny Brown, he's on this album. Aesop Rock, he's on this album. I think I'm forgetting someone else that I reviewed in the last week who's on this album. It's that crazy. It's been that much. I'm surprised Andre 3000 isn't playing flute. And it's just a sign of how vibrant it is, because the album is just from start to finish ridiculously enjoyable. The highs are very high. The lows are high mid. So like if I'm going to say, some of the tracks are the worst tracks, they're not bad tracks. There's no skips on this album. Oh, Jesus. I sound like a real YouTuber. I don't think there are any songs you would need to skip. Can I say that instead? But it does make me have a sort of an issue. Like would I rather listen to this or a Billy Woods album? Or an Aesop Rock album? And that's where I think it's kind of fun to think about the nature of an all-star team or a dream team. I came up with this metaphor, and then later I checked Bandcamp, and they use the same metaphor of an all-star team. And that's really what it is, because Blockhead is this great producer, and he's getting a lot of people to rap on his beats. And it ends up having this feeling. I would compare it more to the Dream Team. And when I think about, let's take the most classic Dream Team, the 1992 Dream Team, the basketball team that had Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all on the same team playing in Barcelona. And the question is, would you rather watch the Dream Team or the 92 Bulls? The championship winning team with Jordan. Personally, I would prefer the 92 Bulls. I would prefer listening to Garbology, the album with Aesop Rock and Blockhead. Or I'd prefer listening to just that Danny Brown album, or just the Arm & Hammer album. In general, I would prefer to listen to an entire album made by one artist with sort of one vision and putting it out. But that said, that's not an easy choice to make. And this kind of project, I sort of compare it to the Metro Boomin album from last year, which was another great example of mainstream hip hop is not dead, because that Metro Boomin album was so good. But it's the same basic idea. Just people want to work with this producer, so why don't we, instead of doing the thing that usually happens, where you have one rapper and a bunch of producers, one producer and a bunch of rappers. I will say that the strength of this project, I think, can be seen in one of the strengths of the Dream Team. Quick, tell me in the comments without looking it up, who was the top scorer on the Dream Team in 1992? I can't find my mug, so I'm drinking water from a Bonne Maman jar. Was it Jordan? Was it Bird? Definitely wasn't Bird. His back was more broken than my deck. No, it was Charles Barkley. And I love that fact because you don't expect it. You don't expect the round mound or rebound to be the person who got who scored more than Jordan in the Olympics, but that happens to be the case. So that's my teaser for you. The star of this album is not one of the stars that you think. I think the highest score on this album, the best verse on this album, is a Charles Barkley figure. Which rapper is the Charles Barkley figure? Watch my review to find out. Of course, the whole thing is just anchored by these ridiculously good beats. I'm going to do my best to do them service, but frankly, it's hard. It's hard because the beats are so well done. There's so many interesting layers. You know, listen to it 3 or 4 times, and on the 3rd time, I'll be listening to a song, and I'll be like, it's like a helicopter outside. I mean, I don't think there's a helicopter outside the 3rd time I listen to the song. I listened to it a 3rd time. I'm like, was that an organ? Like, what? Was that organ there the whole time? And then I have to listen to it again. So there is a one of the best compliments you can give a producer is when their beats are busy but don't feel busy. Like busy but clean, you know? And all these beats are busy but clean. So before going on, if you like this video, like the stuff I do here, you can smash the like bucket. It really does matter. You can subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'm having a killer month. Between the Beatles and Andre 3000, I'm getting subscribers up the wazoo. So hopefully this will do well as well. It is kind of a funny story. Sometimes I watch my older videos as a joke to see how uncomfortable I was with the format, and I watch them with my wife. And a lot of my early rap videos, like I watched one of doing Neff the Pharaoh, and I used to start off all my videos on underground rap saying, well, nobody wants to hear me talk about underground rap music. Nobody cares, but I care. So go check out my Neff the Pharaoh video. It's got 32 views right now. I was right back then. In reality now, if I ever need views, I got to do something like this. But I don't need views. I'm just happy to review this. And also, finally, there's the mystery of my comment section. The letters AVAA stands for awesome video as always. You put that in caps anywhere in your comment, and I will heart your comment at some point. It's a little thing we have back and forth. So let's get to the try. I'm not going to give you a stamp because I want that to be the suspense. Who's the Charles Barkley of this album? Who's the top scorer of this album? And no, it is not Billy Woods. Now, Billy Woods is the architect, it feels, of this album. You know, this is on the Backwoods label, which is his label. A lot of people are around him. But listen, okay? Maps might end up being the album of the year. It's December and I'm starting to think, and We Buy Diabetic Test Strips might be up there too. So I'm not insulting Woods by saying that he is not the star of this album. I don't think he wants to be either. I think this is a pretty conscious choice to show everybody, hey, look at what's going on here. But a great jazzy start and stop beat, this great kind of like table. The thing that he does, that Blockhead does, is very often he'll have an opening beat and you're like, damn, that's a good beat. And then the beat settles into something different for the verse, and you're like, what happened to that first thing? It's sort of like how Timbaland would like play an entire beat, and then at the end he'd throw on a whole nother part. And you were like, what? Can that be a song too? Alchemist now does this as well. So I really like that style here. Woods' verse is obviously stupid strong here. Everything you need to know. Wait, first of all, I'm the best, but really no better than y'all. That's a great line. That seems like the quintessential underground rap lyric. You know, like, I'm the best, but no better than y'all. So meaning, like, you know, you still have the pride of being a rap artist and trying to be the best, and it's competitive art, but at the same time, reaching a certain level of emotional maturity to understand that you are not actually better than everybody. Because once you realize that you're not better than everybody, it means you are at peace and you don't think you're not good enough. You know, it's that contradiction. Like Drake said. You know, Drake said, I'm never enough. The best thing you can possibly say is, I am enough. Everything you need to know about America is inside any 99-cent store. Preach. Another thing that I do is I watch a lot of videos about 99-cent stores. There's like Company Man, not the good rap reviewer Company Man. There's a different Company Man who talks about the spread of dollar stores. John Oliver did a whole special on dollar stores. It is sort of true. It is sort of true. Everything you need to know is inside a 99-cent store and also is in the proliferation of 99-cent stores. So that's your homework. It's a very agreeable homework. Just watch some stuff about. I'm sorry. I'm just noticing that one of my railings is broken on my deck. Remember earlier when I said it's broken like my deck, and I realized people might have thought I was saying it's broken like my dick, and I'm like, I don't want to say that, but damn. We have to fix that before the summer. And then one of these other lines: for every Jack Harlow, it's a white boy who didn't make it. Aw, and works in crypto and intellectual property. This is the thing. There's one viewer of mine who always comments and says that I talk too much about race. That's a real sorry not sorry thing. If you talk about rap music, especially as a white person, you don't address race thoroughly, perhaps too thoroughly. You're not addressing it enough. But I love this because this is the reality of a lot of white rappers, a lot of great producers in rap music, due to systematic racism and the inequality, generational inequality, right? If rap doesn't work for them, they usually have a backup plan. If Jack Harlow didn't make it, his parents were rich, his grandmother was the tightest, in his words, and gave him an apartment to live in Kentucky, okay? Most rappers don't have grandparents who can just give them apartments to live in, right? They don't have that backup. And it's not because white people are evil now or because I'm guilty of anything, but that's just the system. That's just the way it's gone back for centuries and centuries. And the way that Woods can put it out just so clear right here, didn't make it and works in crypto. It's sort of like the opposite of, dead or in jail. It's crypto or intellectual property. And that goes for a lot of, like, again, right? The right Alchemist is from, get this, Beverly Hills, right? I don't know his whole life, but I imagine if he didn't make it in rap music, he probably had some kind of network around him growing up in Beverly Hills where he could have scraped out a reasonable living. Okay, now that doesn't go across the board because class is usually more determinant than race, so I don't think Eminem would have ended up going to college and working in crypto. But anyways, it's an interesting question. There's a lot of stuff on this album about whiteness, and like Blockhead is white. Reminds me of that scene in Arrested Development. White power, I'm white. But I don't know. Like, maybe they're just that comfortable with Blockhead. Maybe they're uncomfortable. I don't know. But then this beat. This isn't even the best beat. There's a Charles Barkley beat on this album too. There's a best beat on this album. It's not this, but somehow that's how well produced this album is. This warbled singing, I don't know where it came from, and Lyric Genius doesn't have all the lyrics to this album, and Who Sampled doesn't have all the samples in this album. This album is kind of opaque. It's hard for me to decipher. Navy Blue comes on, Whitey Coward at the sight of me, couldn't comprehend the plight of me, going back, tying into that previous verse about Jack Harlow, right, because Jack Harlow can't understand the plight, and it's, again, interesting to have a couple black guys rapping on a white guy's beat for a white guy's album. It's interesting. If you're that guy, feel free to put in the comments how wrong I am. How this has nothing to do with race. Whitey Coward at the sight of me. I'm reading too much into it. I just love this sample and this like hazy guitar. Next track is the Cellar Dwellers No. This is by, again, I have to call him Calcris because I'm a French professor and that's how I pronounce it. Someone laughed and said, don't say that in Quebec. That's true. It has a different meaning in Quebec. This is just great, because it has this whole like, right, yes, yeah, it has this kind of setup. And the thing about this production is if you play drums, okay? So if you play drums, you have your hi-hat over here, you have your ride cymbal over here, some crash cymbals, snare, toms, bass drum, right? So, you boom, 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 ta, boom, boom, ta, okay? But a thing, if you're playing the hi-hat, if you're not playing the hi-hat, drummers often keep the beat with their left foot, and it makes this kind of sound. So this has this totally stuttered, jittery, weird, only in the right ear stutter step. Not even a stutter step. It just sounds like a real drummer. And it almost sounds like the kind of thing that an engineer would hear and go, can we take that out? And you can't take it out because that's part of it. Like once you start listening to it, I'm going to warn you, you can't unhear it. It ends up happening that way where you just cannot unhear this awesome sound because drumming is such a, I'm a drummer, not a very good drummer, but I'm a drummer. And it's so amazing because you just end up doing all these things all at once. And one of the coolest things is just keeping that in there. And somehow Blockhead is putting that on here. Kel Chris's verse is just amazing. It's funny. It's hard. And this whole idea, so many rappers exist in the land of the lost. So I thought he was talking about the TV show Land of the Lost, which I didn't watch when I was a kid because it freaked me the hell out. Low production value, weird like animals. It scared the hell out of me. The movie with Will Ferrell was surprisingly good. If you like jokes about drowning in piss, which I do. So-called golden showers. But it turns out he's actually talking. This is one song that was on Lyric Genius. I never heard it, but I used to see the ad in the source. So he's talking about a band called Land of the Lost. No, called the Cave Dwellers, who had a song called Land of the Lost, and he's referring to reading the ad in the source. So it's like this way deep reference, this idea of being a rapper and reading the source, which was a magazine that existed out of Massachusetts. Long, complicated story behind it, but a great magazine. I read it maybe for 4 years, like every episode, every issue, covered it front to back. Like it was awesome. But so you'd see the ad for it in the source. So he's talking about essentially lost media, like some rap group. I don't know the song. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. But here's this idea of rappers being lost. We knew the flavor lost its kick since dipping the bread in the sauce. So it's like talking about the influence of money and like forgotten rappers and people just disappearing. And it seems like this whole song is about just too many rappers who just disappear and never quite make it. Maybe never should have been there in the first place. He's in despair. I'm looking at my notes. I wrote despair at rap. I'm trying to think, what do I mean? Yeah, he's in despair. I'm so tired and simultaneously so wired. This is another reason that we need to have people like over the age of 22 rapping. Because like when you're young, you're not tired and wired at the same time. But there reaches a certain age where this is a pretty frequent feeling. It's new money and old tyrants co-sign it. Maybe this is like talking about like Drake co-signing for new singer. I don't know. Snow bunnies that say N-word when N-word ain't around because N-words laid it down. They quoting what N-words rhyming. Like talking about white girls who say this because that, and just sort of like getting lost. And then I have a new category. Can you help me, please? Please. Help me, auditors. You're my only hope. I have a new idea for a category for the year-end awards. Video game lyric of the year. Okay? It's going to be hard to beat this one, but there's a lot of good video game lyrics. But tell me, 2023, put in the comments the best video game lyric. I need to pad out this category to see who wins. My pen's rare like Donkey, Diddy, and Killer Instinct. Brutal combo! That's a great reference. I love it. Because Rare was a video game developer that got bought up by Microsoft. But beforehand, they made all these great games, including Donkey Kong Country, and the game that I played hours of, Killer Instinct, to the point where I can probably tell you off the dome, full Gore's combo. Hold back 2 seconds, forward, strong punch, gentle punch, gentle punch, gentle punch, backwards half circle, medium kick, and then I think it's forward, down, forward, punch. And gets little eyes out there. Anyways, it's great. Next track is called MSIPI Mississippi featuring A$AP Rock. And this is sort of like you know how De La Soul came back and then one of them very sadly died and they didn't release an album? This is like, if you loved De La Soul, this is that kind of thing. Like a cool idiosyncratic sample, very cool verses. It just has this really fun, cool sound to it. Just a great sort of 90s style drum loop and everything. And it seems as though A$AP Rock is continuing on one of the themes from ITS, which is just the fleeting nature of life. He does a whole countdown. He's using Mississippi as a way to have a countdown. One would say Mississippi to replace for a second. So he counts down 1 Mississippi, get the itch to do what it do, shrinking numerals, blinking light bulbs, a dozen Hail Marys, both your eyes closed. I'm saying take a breath and picture something pleasant. This the absolute zero in every possible present. So basically it's a countdown to your death, and you need to live as though every moment is going to be your moment of death. And it just has a super awesome kiddie sample. MISSISSIPPI. Mastering How to Land, featuring Koreatown Oddity and Open Mike Eagle. There's another person who I reviewed in the last couple months, Open Mike Eagle. I also reviewed Koreatown Oddity a little while ago, maybe a year ago. Sorry, now that I see the broken thing, that's going to be a bunch of work to fix that. I don't even know how that happened. It's weird. So mastering how to land, cool backwards guitar sound like hi-hats and cowbells. This is what I'm talking about. Like the drum comes in the middle of Koreatown's verse, and it's just like there's so many layers here that I don't want to waste your time trying to remember them all, but there's so many. I love this idea of ain't tripping or falling, just mastering how to land. Koreatown, it's one of the things about underground rap music is that it's a different kind of bravado. So it's often bravado based on understanding one's own vulnerability. And then we get Open Mike Eagle's verse, and this is not on Lyric Genius. So for those of you who don't know who Tone Loc is, Tone Loc was like one of the biggest rappers of the 80s. Okay? Like, it is hard to underestimate. Like, if you were to ask just someone on the street, especially like a suburban street, name 5 rappers, they'd be like Run DMC, Fat Boys, Tone Loc, Vanilla Ice. Okay? Even before Vanilla Ice. Like, Tone Loc, all of his things were written by Young MC, kind of interesting history there. But he was like this cool guy rapper who had these gigantic hits when I was in middle school. And then he was also an actor. He was in Ace Ventura. Not the last time I'm going to be mentioning the Ace Ventura franchise on this video. Spoiler. But no. He said he's like, Get the Bag or something, like Tone Loc and Fern Gully. So Fern Gully was an animated movie by the Bluth Animation Company, and I guess Tone Loc was in it. Just what kind of reference? This is like this crazy. This is the thing. Open Mike Eagle does nostalgia really well, and I happen to be his age, so I happen to know he's making reference to Stetasonic and Fern Gully and Tone Loc, and then all this cool weird vocalizing at the end. Next track is Lighthouse featuring Ugly Frank. This is like the worst song on the album, but it's a great song. It's got this great triangle shuffle beat. I think it's that I don't connect to Ugly Frank's flow, but it's not like it's bad. And I like what he's rapping about. Talking about rap inflating the ego, about the inability to feel happy. I think if there was an Ugly Frank album and I listened to it all the way through, I'd end up liking it. But just in this one little snippet, it doesn't really stand out to me. Next track, Hater Porn, featuring Casual and Breeze Bruin, has like an organ to start, has this whole cool, weird quote about, it actually got me tripping. Now I'm talking like a 90s guy. It got me tripping. But it talks about how we use water and convert it into electricity. And I was like, oh shit, man. We convert water into electricity? What the hell, man? It really, and I live like an hour from Niagara Falls, so I've seen it happen. It's pretty cool. I thought I recognized Casual, and he was a member of the Hieroglyphics. So we're having a hieroglyphic moment here. Souls of Mischief, I guess, are big on TikTok. My kids have both heard of Del the Funky Homo Sapien. And, Del the Funky Homo Sapien was the first rapper that was too misogynist for me to love. I owned 2 of his cassettes, and I listened to them all the time. But I could never love him because that damn Chicken Head song is just brutal. Brutal. Man, he's great. And then there's like this, again, talking about the production here, it reminds me strongly of the soundtrack to Dario Argento's movies. He was an Italian cult filmmaker of horror, and he had this group called Goblin that made this suspenseful 70s-esque music, and this really has that Goblin feeling. But then the beat itself is basically a dance hall beat. Boom, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat. But it doesn't sound like dance hall. It's just great. And then we have Breeze Bruin, who's on here a couple times. We're still not at Charles Barkley, by the way. We're still not there. I like the way he has sort of a lighter sound, and then just this whole again, if you want to understand the brilliance of Blockhead's production, listen to the end of this song, how the beat plays out with his guitar and these lee sort of foreign sample, I don't know, somewhere in Asia, I assume. These like bell sounds, the goblin sounds, organs and drums. Next track is called Give Thanks. No, Lucid, nor Billy Woods is the Charles Barkley of this album. Cool, haunting, simple voice before the drum beat comes in. Lucid is, it's great. It's great hearing them, but again, I really like, I like their album. Like, I want to hear their album. But still, there's this really cool, weird, like, sounds almost like an Eastern flute or some kind of flute-like instrument. Maybe it's Andre. Maybe it's 3 Stacks. How cool would that be, right? Oh, tell me in the comments that's what it is. Even if it's not, tell me in the comments. And then Woods starts off, and I swear to God, he's quoting Ace Ventura. 2 is too many. Because, he gets hit by all the blow darts and Ace Ventura when nature calls. 2 darts is too many. I don't know. Maybe not. You young, you move like Robert Kennedy, line cook, tucked, the deuce deuce. It was just November 22nd, which was the anniversary of Robert Kennedy's brother's murder by one person. Sorry. That's just what happened. Conspiracies are cool, but just some guy. And I was talking about it with my family, and I was talking about Robert Kennedy's death, and this is it, right? Line cook, tuck the deuce deuce, like he was killed while going through a kitchen. Just the beautiful, the history lessons that Woods gives you. Her smile, sunshine, but when the music stops, she still got to squat to pick up the cash. So, I think this is about, obviously it's about a stripper who picks up the cash after stripping and has to pick it up off the floor. But it's like about her beauty. Like she has a beautiful sunshine smile, but she still has to pick up the floor off the cash. And I think this is a, pretty good anti-capitalist message here, because that's the state that we're all in, My smile is sunshine. I give you all these nice talks, but at the end of the day, I still got to scrub together the pennies and nickels that come to me from YouTube AdSense, Like we still got to squat to pick up the cash. Doesn't matter how you work or where you work or what you do. We are all squatting to pick up the cash. Unless we own, unless we own the means of production. I know all the words to International in French, but neither communist nor socialist. But unless we own the means of production, we're squatting to pick up the cash. So he's talking about a stripper, but also he's talking about you. Next track is called Poppy Seeds. Bruiser Wolf almost was the Charles Barkley of this album. I was just introduced to Bruiser Wolf on the Danny Brown album, and I just love it, especially the way it works with this harpsichord sound. It's like this love song, but a really crooked love song. Like his voice kind of echoes. He's sort of like a cross between if Barry White and E40 had a baby, it would be Bruiser Wolf. My pull-out game weak. She begging Poppy please. She knows she can make bread with poppy seeds. Poppy means father in Spanish. Poppy is also a kind of flower that produces seeds, and you can make poppy seed bread, and bread is money. It's all very clever. It's all very good stuff. I kick game Vinatieri, referring to the greatest kicker in the history of football. You're All I Need, Meth and Mary. So he's referring to the song by Meth and Mary. So it's kind of like a sweet love song about Meth and Mary. You're All That I Need was a very big sort of crossover song for Method Man, and really helped to be a sort of rap song that helped to prove the pop viability of rap, of hardcore rappers rapping with R&B singers. All very funny and very well done. Next track is God Is Busy with a Kai solo. It starts slow, cool dream sounds. Not too much to hold on to, but there's a great guitar bit at the end. We still haven't hit Charles Barkley. Did you think that Aesop Rock was the Charles Barkley of this album? You might think so, with Ponzu Sauce, the next track. Breeze Bruin comes back. I like his verse more here. Nice fretless bass, like a simple, weird beat that's super far behind. George Takei, I believe, is sampled here. Who am I? I am the wrecker. He's almost Charles Barkley, but he's not. He's more like Muggsy Bogues. Was Muggsy Bogues on the 92 team? D. Brown. Was D. Brown on the 92 team? Was he dead by then? I hope not. Man, there's a rough period of time there where if you liked a Celtic, they were going to die in unexpected ways. But Aesop Rock's verse is strong. But again, I've just spent the last week basically. It was Thanksgiving, so I talked to my brothers, and I talked to my brother Aim, and I begged him to listen to the Aesop Rock album because he's an artist and he does sketches, and I know I actually gave him Garbology for Christmas 2 years ago, because I thought he'd like it. I'm I know you're gonna love it. It's my whole family, we've just been listening to nothing but Aesop Rock, so this is good, but it's not ITS. Sad Vampire. Okay, I was lying. There's actually 2 Charles Barkleys. There's a tie for top scorer on this album, and Briannels is one of them. I don't mean listen. This is just a hobby I picked up in the lobby, okay? I'm not a rap expert or underground rap expert. I do have a pretty big platform now. I love the amount of respect that I get and the amount of authority some people think I have, but I don't think I'm a real authority. So I haven't heard of Briannels, and that doesn't mean that Briannels is no one to have heard of. But this, no, he's not Charles Barkley, but this is the Charles Barkley beat. Okay, so he does such a great job on this beat. Super tight drum beat. Super tight. It's like the drums just tight. This solid bass. Everything about this song just pops with these bells and these little bongos and this guitar in the chorus. Just there's something about this beat. It's just like imagine like a drum that's pulled tight. Okay, imagine it's like calf skin on it and you pull it really tight. So it's really just like dong dong dong. And then you take a ping pong ball, okay? And you just go boom right off that really tight drum head. This whole sound has that level of tightness to it. Crack rap with a backpack. Fuck waking and grinding. We bringing naps back. Who is this guy? It's great. The whole verse is so good. Every single thing he's doing is so good. Finally winning because I fucked up so bad. There's nothing to lose. Big told me in shootouts to stay low and keep firing. I need to remind MCs that UPS is hiring. Great punchline. It's also cool because the line that he's quoting from Biggie is not actually Biggie's own line. Biggie was told. The lyric is, I was told in shootouts to stay low and keep firing. So it's actually third-hand information that... Is his name Brian? Brian. That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know what he looks like. So, like, I have an idea in my head of what Briannels looks like. But just such a great verse. You know, puppies don't turn into wolves. Kitties don't turn into lions. He goes on later, talks about Anakin force-pushing clones. I've been nice since Sega. Original man never saw the Genesis. And he sings the chorus as well and develops super well. So I don't know who this guy is. Please feel free to tell me in the comments. Skye, how have you been sleeping on Briannels? He's the greatest. His 2018 album. Hi, my name is Brian. How are you? It's the greatest rap album of all time. Skye, wake up. Listen to MF Doom. You can say all those things if you want. It's just a hobby I picked up in the lobby. But at the end, there's this cool like bit where they drop out the drums and he says, 400 years, look how they did the Haitians. And it's just a little sort of unexpected little political aspect here, and historically accurate aspect to how long we've been treating Haitians. It's funny, I didn't think I had that much to say about this album. But I'm looking at the time up there. It says 32 minutes and 49 seconds. Next track is Gargamel. Cool arpeggio sound. Gargamel is the cat from the Smurfs, or is Gargamel the name of the wizard? I think Gargamel is the cat. Les Schtroumpfs. True story about the Smurfs. In French, Smurfs are called les Schtroumpfs. And breakdancing is called le Smurf. Because a Smurf was a kind of breakdancing move that was so popular in France that they just called the whole art of breaking le Smurf. Hip-hop history. But just another great tight bass and drum sound. Doom, 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 doom. A nice attacking verse from Def C. Again, maybe this is the best cut on the album. I don't know. It's maybe a little too long. I like Shrapnel, the duo here. I believe they make reference to Liver King, but not as much to hold on to. And then we get to the actual Charles Barkley of the album, RX Nephew. God damn. I think he came out with an album this week, too. I remember doing some research, seeing what was coming up. I think he came out with an album last week, So, I saw the RX, and I know that refers to Rochester, and I live near Rochester, so Rochester, New York is a great place to live. It's also the most, segregated city in the country, so there's that. One of them. And in general, I've listened to some of the RX stuff, and I haven't, loved it, but this guy is amazing. First of all, he matches the beat perfectly. These kind of swirly sounds, these, heavenly vocals. He has a really, really aggressive rap style, where they edit it so that the one line comes after the last line so that there's no break. And it's just, he just has all these different ways of talking. AR sounds like dun dun dun. He's just weird. And he's great. And he's funny and he's strange and he's so raw. He's so raw. What you doing, Neff? Bitch, I'm rapping. Like, the thing is this. If Danny Brown is growing up and moving away from kind of crazy, whoa, whoa, whoa style, maybe we need someone else to jump in and be a little more crazy, just throwing around, just word. And that's this guy. This is amazing. I got Dr. Phil killed. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. They used to treat me like Joe Dirt. I don't know. I look at the ops like I can't get jiggy with this. Like he has so many lines that I don't know exactly what they mean, but I will be quoting because it's the kind of rapper who just comes up with these lines. I can't get jiggy with this. He changes his tone and his cadence all the time. And there's a little bit with like harps, and it just gets gorgeous. I talk to animals like Dr. Doolittle. I talk to lions like, how do they understand you? I stir the pot like I'm Ryu. So that's the character from Street Fighter 2. I suppose other Street Fighters as well, like Street Fighter 2 Super, Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Super Edition, Ultra Mega. And he does he's stirring it like Ryu, because I guess he's a crack guy. And then Auntie hits the glass dick like Horuken, which is one of the sounds that's made by Ryu in Street Fighter 2. So there's a lot of Street Fighter 2, a lot of Hadouken references, but this is just like with the sound effect and with his voice. Bitch, I got Homer Simpson. Oh, I don't know why there's these sounds here. I don't believe Young Jeezy's so dope. And then he has this whole line here, and this is the thing. Like if you're going to go out, right? And RX Nephew goes out. He goes out. He puts himself on a ledge, and he does stuff where if you look at it wrong, you think it's corny, and you look at it right, and you go, oh, that's the best. Shit will get ugly like Beetlejuice. Paint my face like Beetlejuice. Nappy ass hair like Beetlejuice. Glock related to the Conehead family. What? You just rhymed Beetlejuice with Beetlejuice 3 times, and then you capped it off with a word that doesn't even rhyme with Beetlejuice. This is some next level stuff. Some people criticize my Andre 3000 review because apparently I'm not on a high enough frequency. I don't even understand high frequency music. I'm so obsessed with ego. I'm low frequency. Listen, if you don't get this verse, you are low frequency. I have officially transcended to the realm of a higher rap by understanding this verse by RX Nephew. Rhyming Beetlejuice with Coneheads. Makes sense to me. I went and saw Coneheads on my friend Brad's 16th birthday. We had a scavenger hunt for him, and it ended at the Fresh Pond Cinema watching the movie Coneheads, which was maybe not the best way to end it. And he just takes up the energy and brings down the energy, and like shots fire. And then he says, "This is a long song. This beat is long as fuck. Dry ass steak, nasty potatoes. Been playing with guns since Play-Doh." And then he ends it with, "Who the fuck says crack don't sell?" And I don't know who says it. I don't know why he's saying it. But this is the best verse on the album. I think it's the best pairing of rapper and producer. It was the most unexpected. Jordan, Bird, and Johnson are all here. Aesop, Woods, they're all here. I'm glad they're here. But this tournament belongs to RX Nephew. And that other guy, Brian. And Brian. Brian's close. 1970s post-apocalyptic skin flick with Fatboy Sharif and Creaturenomics. Cool, 70s soundtrack with these low horns and tambourines. Ends up being a really insane beat, and then Fatboy Sharif's voice gets really weird with it. Again, it's a very great pairing of voice and beat. Creaturenomics is on here and just matches the beat, matches the style again really quite well. They're really well paired together. Kind of foreign singing at the end. And then we get to, now that's what I call a posse cut, volume 56. And if you read sort of most reviews, they skip to this, and you probably skip to this, but this is the worst song on the album. Okay? And I understand it has Danny Brown, and I love Danny Brown. Okay? Danny Brown's great. And I love Billy Woods. Billy Woods is on this. And I love Bruiser. Bruiser's on this too. It's just not as interesting as the rest. And I hate it when that happens, when the song that everyone is going to listen to first is not the best song, you know? If you're an underground rapper and you have a feature with JPEG Mafia, that better be the best track on the album. But it's because it's a posse cut, and the thing about posse cuts, most posse cuts are bad. Most posse cuts just don't have the structural weight to hold that long of verse after verse after verse after verse. Okay? There are obviously exceptions. This is not a terrible beat. Great kind of pianos and keyboards to start, and this nice kind of languid guitar line with these drums. But in general, it just doesn't quite hold up. I do like Bruiser's verse again. He goes super deep. Feds catch you snoozing. I rush in like Putin. It's like he's rushing into the way he rushed into Ukraine, but also Russian, like the word Russian, like Putin. Been counting Franklin so long. I got blueprints, question like Iverson's with the blue tip. So it's like Iverson's nickname was the question. Ben Franklin, Ben counting Franklin. So Ben Franklin is the person that's on the $100 bill. Counting Franklin's $100 bills are blue, unlike the rest of American currency that is green. So his fingers are blue from all the Ben Franklins. Ben Franklin is from, and he is synonymous with Philadelphia, which is the place where Allen Iverson played basketball, who was known as the Question. And blue tips is what he had on some of his shoes. And the name of those shoes is the Blueprint. The Blueprint sneaker with the blue tips. Correct me if I'm wrong, sneakerheads, but I looked it up and I think I'm right. And so just in this one line, you have Ben Franklin, Philadelphia, Iverson, blueprints, blue tips, question. He's going hard. He's definitely not the Larry Bird. Larry Bird got like 6 points in those Olympics. And Danny Brown's here, but it's weird because it feels like it's like old Danny Brown, and like I'm getting used to new Danny Brown. But I'm trying to be Barry Gordy. That's another story. They say you ain't living right. No worries, because they can't do nothing for me. It's good, you know. It's a good verse from Danny Brown, but I just like got through that whole album, and I just feel like all filled up. It's sort of like with Aesop Rock. It's like I'm just so happy at how good this music is that's coming out that when I hear them in these little snippets, I would just rather listen to Quarenta again. Woods here talks about how to talk to the police. You can ask for the name, rank, and serial number, which is nice. I rarely punch. This is on Lyric Genius, but they got it wrong. I rarely punch in like the mob. I let whoever else punch in. For me, it's a no-show job. On Genius, it says no joke job, and it's important because like a no-show job is the kind of job that someone from the mafia can get. And Despot ends here strong, although again by this point of the beat it isn't quite sustained, I think, by the posse cut. So there's my review of the Aux, which is also a cool title, you know, because like the aux cable is how kids these days listen to music. So these are my Patreons. They give me money to buy music. You see that I have the Aesop Rock album back there. I bought that with the money that the Patreons gave me. I got 123 Patreons, and if you want to have your name on this list in blue Sharpie, you just go ahead and you go over there. You join up. I do all sorts of exclusive videos all the time. All right, until next time, I'm going to be releasing this tomorrow, so hopefully OM beats Strasbourg. We'll have to find out. They probably didn't, though. Our team is in terrible form. Okay, until next time, there's the camera.